Hey everybody, how's it going? So tonight, waiting for Robert to hop on. Just want to talk about massage regulation, pros and cons. Um, if you're catching the replay, comment and let me know you're catching the replay. We're just going to talk about pros and cons of massage regulation. So, pretty much, if you saw my post, I posted from my main account. This is my backup account actually. I posted about that. I'm pretty much done with working on a table. I'll be advertising for Thai massage. And if you go look at the thread, you'll basically see by the end, someone's telling me that, I shouldn't call it Thai massage. I'm miseducating people, etc., etc. So I'm trying to see if Robert's on here yet. Let's see. Just waiting for Robert to come on. I tagged him. Let's wait for him to get on. Alright, probably should be on right now. Alright, I think that's Robert right now. Alright, is that Robert? Alright, cool. Yeah, I'm sending you the invite, man. Just accept the invite. Yeah, I clicked for it to invite you, and it says inviting. Yeah, man, it's saying it's inviting you. Accept the request.
There we go.
All right,
It
cool.
just takes it. Yeah, it just takes it a
All
minute.
right, man, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Let me
All right.
let me actually go grab something real quick. I'm gonna go grab my laptop because I made that little list of stuff I wanted to address. Let me grab that real quick.
All right, no problem. Actually, just the light. See a little bit better.
Oh,
Dang, lighting's terrible at this angle because I have myself near my outlet, but yeah, the lighting is terrible at this angle. Whatever.
still there?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I dropped my phone for a second. So
Oh, okay. All right. All right. So we'll get right into it. I'm just gonna, because I was talking a bit before you got on.
yeah,
So basically, we're talking about how would I title this? I guess pros and cons of massage regulation. So what I mentioned earlier was talking about how I talked about how I was done working on the table. I'm going to advertise for Thai massage. You can check the thread, and then ultimately it just comes down to somebody telling me that I shouldn't call it Thai massage because I'm spoiling it for Thai practitioners and I'm miseducating people. And basically, the whole point I want to get at is that uh, it's amazing in our industry that people don't realize that there's pretty much like this invisible veil that's over people's eyes and they don't even realize it. Because when you look at how massage is regulated, like you need a license, you know, so much weight people put into certifications, and really all it is just, again, how can we control people? And then as far as education goes, how can we reduce competition?
Yeah.
Because let's look at massage, right? So how is it massage defined in the state of Texas, right? Just the manipulation of soft tissues, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the phrase that I use regularly because that kind of kicks off the beginnings of how they define what massage is generally most states, because massage is regulated differently state to state. Each state's rules can be completely different, but most of them start off with saying something about the manipulation of soft tissue.
Yeah, because I think I at least heard in school as far as soft tissues, it's even more than that. It's specifically like massage, not even just manipulation of soft tissues, but like applying lotion directly to the skin. Because like that's how people are pretty much able to get away with it at the people that massage in the mall. Those people in the mall, they aren't licensed, but
Yeah,
they're able to get away with it because the people are fully clothed.
yeah.
And it just goes back to what is massage, right? There's no clear definition. Or let's get in touch with some of these modalities, right? Swedish massage, right? AKA relaxation massage. What is relaxation massage? There's no clear definition of that, right? Whether it's just me just doing light flowy strokes and you fall asleep, or me just jamming you with my elbow and you fall asleep. Because there's some people that fall asleep to an elbow. What's some other modalities? Sports massage, right? What is sports massage, right? We got the pre-event and the post-event, whatever,
Yeah.
but is there's no specific standard of sports massage. So the thing which is amazing to me is that, again, people put so much weight into certifications when it's all just loaded general terms. And the stuff that you learn from CE classes, again,
Yeah.
I know there's a lot to learn, but for the most part, that's not for everything, for the most part, no one is reinventing the wheel, no matter who you are, no matter how long you've been in practice.
Yeah.
Now, again, right, it depends on certain things, right? Like lymphatic drainage, oncology. What was one thing? God, I saw something a long time ago that was interesting to me. Oh, burn scar massage. That was really interesting. So things along that line. But for the most part, like, it's not anything
the real
new.
distinction is the difference that most therapists I find don't really understand between licensure and certification. So licensure is something that's doled out by the state. It's enforced by the state. There are legal penalties for that. Certifications are voluntary. You don't have to get a certification. So, for instance, I've trademarked Reboot. If Sterling, you go out and start doing Reboot sessions and marketing it as Reboot, I have to get my lawyer to send you a cease and desist letter. You go, yo, Sterling, you can't use my brand Reboot. You have to call it something else. You can make shoes, but you can't call it Nike. Make sense?
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
there's no legal control over most, in my opinion, most modalities. It's like anybody can do myofascial release if they watch a video.
Exactly.
Anybody can do trigger point therapy if they watch a video or take a class. The thing is, if you do myoskeletal alignment, I believe that Eric Dalton has trademarked that term.
Yeah,
So,
yes.
so the thing is, there's a difference between licensure, which is mandatory, supposedly, and certification, which is voluntary.
And then what's another thing most people fall into? Again, like having a license, right? They say that most people's how do I say this? Yeah, most people's opinion is that licensure protects the public, but who's to say that no harm can be done just because someone is licensed, right? You can still get injured by a licensed therapist,
Yeah.
right? Some sexual misconduct can still occur from a licensed massage therapist.
There is a degree of quality control that comes from licensure and the fact that massage therapy programs are standardized, I would say that bare minimum in the United States, most states almost, I don't know how many are exempted from this. I don't know how many states don't have licensure still. Oklahoma finally just passed it. I'm not sure about Minnesota, but anyway, we go through a 500-hour program in Texas. They teach you anatomy, physiology, health and hygiene, some pathology, things like that, that I think as basics, sure. I think therapists can use that information. Yeah, it's good. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think that before we had licensure, there was a big problem with people getting hurt. I don't think that's really the case at all. And in fact,
yeah, you actually bring up an interesting point. Right. Yeah, I was saying you actually bring up an interesting point, considering the fact that, and the other therapists I talked to, is that there wasn't license. I know for a while, I think it wasn't until like 2009, from what people who I talked to told me, that you didn't even need a license in the state of Texas. So, that's still something that's fairly new. And again, it just goes back to, how do I describe it? What the thing is, like, when we always talk about like laws, like even outside of the massage industry, right? Just because it's legal doesn't necessarily mean like it's for the good of the people. Because again, right, I'm not suggesting like, right, we just have like, right, no rules, just anybody just do whatever they want. And God, I wish Andrea was on here. I'll probably invite him.
Protein.
But like, Andrea, he's self-taught. And then and that's something I want to get into as well, because, right, I'm pretty sure, well, I'm not exactly sure, but as far as I know, right, massage isn't heavily regulated outside of the United States, because if you were to go on vacation right now and go get a massage, the likelihood is, the likelihood of that person not being licensed is, 10 out of 10, most likely they're not licensed. And Andrea, he's self-taught, but he's not out there harming people.
Yeah.
What are some other things I want to bring up? Yeah, and then that's the thing too, is that not even just with some of these laws, but falling into certifications of what you can and can't do, mixed with a lot of the pseudoscience that's in our industry, I feel like that confuses a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because, for example, what's another modality? Prenatal massage. What's prenatal massage, right? Do we have a clear definition besides working on a pregnant woman, right? Is there a clear, distinct protocol specifically for pregnant women? No, right? You do your own thing. And I know most therapists will avoid working on a woman in the first trimester, right? Because of that risk of miscarriages, right? But
yeah,
I obviously that's obviously a myth, because it's like when I'm seeing people on Instagram who are pregnant and they're still lifting weights and they're still running and they're still working out, I don't think that because they got a massage, they're all going to suddenly have a miscarriage, and then they can go back and say, oh, I had a miscarriage specifically because I had a massage by that person.
Yeah.
Like, no. So go ahead and touch on some of the points that you were talking about.
Physical activity has some degree of risk. I do think in a fairly litigious society, it's a good idea to have training, and I think it's a good idea to have insurance. But you can have training and insurance without having it mandatorily dictated by the state that you have to have a license.
Yeah, I was going to say, go ahead and say some of the points that you wanted to go over.
Well, I mean, again, we talked about the difference between licensure being mandatory from the state and certification being voluntary, right? And then certification of, like, the certification I'm developing for Reboot is the only way I can really maintain quality control. Because there's no definition, for instance, I was teaching Thai massage for a long time. There's no quality control over what Thai massage is in the United States. There's no specific regulation. You can watch a video and do Thai massage. There's no control. So the thing is, I've been working at it for 12, 13 years. Now, that counts for something to the public when they hear that, but it doesn't mean that somebody who just watched the YouTube video is doing the same thing I do in a 3-hour session.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But the thing
Exactly.
is, I don't have a certification in Thai massage. I've spent 12 to
Mhm.
13 years studying it, but I've never been certified by any particular teacher or organization. And in fact, the organizations that are trying to form around Thai massage, I avoid like the plague, because usually they're trying to enforce traditional Thai massage. But traditional
Mhm.
Thai massage legally doesn't fit into the box that we're in the US at all. So, like when you talk about modalities are a common term in massage therapy circles. Massage therapists tend to think of it as it's a tack-on service that they add to their massage. The core thing they were taught in that 500-hour program, they're now adding pieces. So to me, for instance, it's like craniosacral therapy. Is craniosacral therapy massage?
Yeah, it depends on your definition.
And see, and that's where it gets really murky and kind of weird because I don't think, generally, what I've seen in craniosacral therapy circles is the lowest rung on the ladder is they're teaching massage therapists. And massage therapists are
Mhm.
adding some of that to their practice. So it's kind of assumed that you need a license to be able to do it. At the same time, I think of, as a body worker, knowing the insides of the industry, I think of craniosacral therapy as a very distinct kind of body work that has a very low potential for harm. Not none, but a very low
Yeah.
potential for harm because it's not very much pressure.
At the same time, when I think about it, though, who's getting harmed doing was craniosacral, but then again, I don't. My eyes aren't everywhere, so who knows? Who knows?
So
Again, back to those. Oh,
when you
good.
go to different kinds of things, like I'm hearing more and more, and this will kind of touch on what we were discussing. Myofascial release isn't what I think of as the public thinks of myofascial release as massage. It's typically done clothed.
Hmm.
Is it massage?
Uh,
Because it does manipulate soft tissue. Makes sense? So if
mhm.
you're a myofascial release therapist, do you need a massage license? I have to have these conversations with people constantly.
Yeah.
Mas-
And then another thing I want to add, as far as like licensure. Okay. Right. Me, if I went to go work at a chiropractic office, I'd never have to renew my license ever again, right? Because a chiropractor's license trumps mine, right? Based on what, right? Because they have a degree, blah 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 blah, and then some of these even chiropractors incorporate massage for their patients, right? They don't have a license, so who's to say they're not doing harm? And I know they're not. But
But
again, it's just
chiropractors have a
definitions.
higher degree of training. Chiropractors are insured, and chiropractors can hire assistants who do not have a license to do massage in their facilities in Texas. Those people do not have to have a massage license at all if they're under the chiropractor's supervision.
And it's actually funny that you bring that up too, because there was a like, I know this thing I've seen called ART therapy. I know this. I seen this chiropractor, how he pretty much had assistants. Like, he would like work one part of the body, and then he would just have his assistants like pull it that way or like push it that way.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to Thai massage. So if you obviously you seen the thread, and and people were asking me, right, like, oh hey Brenda,
Hey, Brenda.
people were asking, they were like, did you take a class? And I'm like, no, I looked at YouTube. And the thing is, I'm smart enough, right? I'm smart enough to, and it's not even just based off the person unsolicited advice, not to call it Thai massage, but I'm smart enough to call it something else so I can brand myself. I'm already thinking like 10 steps ahead. I was just gonna call it Thai massage just for the fact that it's just easy for just the average consumer. Like, oh, what do? You don't work on a table. You work on a mat. What do you do? Oh, I do Thai massage. Down the line, I'll just call it something else and just brand myself. And
Yeah.
here was my thing too. I don't care about tradition from Chiang Mai. None of that. I don't care about that. The
Nor,
thing, my,
nor
my
do
whole
nor
thing,
do most consumers. Most consumers in the
exactly.
United States don't have any care about that at all.
Exactly. So my whole thing was like, you know, when we go about right, we need a license to be able to figure out how to touch people. So it's like you're telling me that I need a certification to figure out how to touch people with my feet. Who has the patent or the blueprint of how you touch somebody with your feet and your knees, right? Nobody. And that's what it's hard to convey over like text. So when they're saying me like, oh, are you certified? Did you take a class? It's like God forbid I actually sit down and think, how can I use my feet? How can I use my knees to work on somebody? Because when we look at body work, how is body work learned? Not just what we read in our anatomy books, from a video I watched.
In our culture, one of the things that I've noticed as a budding business person and an entrepreneur is I was always getting into trouble because I was breaking the rules somehow. And over time, what I noticed was as my business started to grow and I focused on being a small business owner and then focused on being an entrepreneur, things sort of clicked for me in a way where I was like, oh, like I thought I was always a troublemaker, but I just had ideas about how things could be improved that actually makes me very good as an entrepreneur. The willingness to change, the willingness to be self-aware and look at what you're doing and change it and tweak it and make it better, were really good things for my practice. But as a society, we have a strong tendency to delegate authority and autonomy. We give up our autonomy for security from the state, and we give up our autonomy for somebody to tell us that we know what we're doing. I'm certified, I have a license. But in the end, all I really cared about was like, well, what do the clients think? Are the clients getting better? Right?
Yeah, the clients don't care if you have a license. Like I even told people, like people always ask, like, "Oh, how long have you been doing this? Did you go to school?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have to have a license." And they're like, "Oh, you have to have a license?" And I even talked to somebody. I was like, "Hey," I even said this to somebody. I was like, "Hey, if I didn't have a license right now, would you care?" They're like, "No."
Yeah. So this will be an interesting conversation because I'm a Thai massage teacher. You're interested in mat work. You're maybe going to call it Thai massage. You might rebrand later. Massage Envy now has something they're calling stretch therapy that they're adding into their sort of massages, okay?
Yeah.
I'm already starting to see massage therapists, they're starting to freak out because they're afraid, that Massage Envy is going to hire people who don't have a license to do stretch therapy.
It's funny that you bring that up because somebody was freaking out hard. They were like, but they don't have a license to touch, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, they're just stretching people. Like,
okay.
Yeah, because I'm saying, like, who's to say?
Massage therapists who use that word, license to touch. I don't know if that exists in any specific legislation in the United States. The state laws typically say manipulation of soft tissue. And from that vantage point, I'm like, okay, do personal trainers manipulate soft tissue?
No.
Do CrossFit trainers manipulate soft tissue?
Depends on what they do. If they show people, because I know and that's another thing I actually brought up in the thread. So again, just context, and it's hard to it's actually kind of tired right now, so I'm rubbing my eyes. Anyway, so as far as like the context and stuff, so I'd said that like CrossFitters are taught how to work on themselves. So a guy who I've actually been learning a lot from, like, I don't really follow massage therapists when it comes to business advice or technique, actually. That's not to diss anybody or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, as far as like just how my brain works, because I feel like again with all the authorities and people where it's like my way and like the bureaucracy that's behind it, I really don't follow a lot of massage therapists. Anyway, so a guy who I follow, his name is Kelly Starrett. He's a personal trainer. He's a strength and conditioning coach and a physical therapist. He has a CrossFit gym. And I was looking at a lot of his mobility videos, and I saw if he had something about like the pecs or something like that. And what I mentioned on there was that, he has these different things called partner smash. So what it'll be is that, you grab a partner, your partner might step on this certain part of your body and you'll do something. And so one thing that I brought up in that thread was that, as far as like releasing the pecs, for part of that partner smash would be the person puts their foot like, I don't think it was exactly on the pecs, but it was like near like the the glenohumeral joint, like all in here, and pretty much the person has their hand like like this, if you can kind of see, and then just internally and externally rotate. And I remember that person that's commenting on the thread, they're like, and I didn't even realize she's being sarcastic, like, oh, you don't have to worry about damaging ligaments or tendons or something along those lines. But I'm like, what's the harm if literally you're just stepping right there? And I'm sure they probably communicate with each other. Now, the thing is, I said I couldn't speak for everyone is because I worked on a CrossFit gym owner, and he's actually taken a class with Kelly Starrett. Okay. And he said that, like, if they work on, sometimes they'll work on each other, and they'll get on the floor, and they'll use their feet to avoid, like, legal troubles, right? Because, being that they're not licensed, they won't use their hands. And I've yet to hear anybody get hurt. Maybe I'll ask him to see if anybody got hurt.
So if you don't use your hands, you don't need a license?
No.
Okay, so no. Okay, because if we're going to push this, see, you're getting into, like, questioning what the regulation says. So if you don't use your hands, can you do ashiatsu without a license?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to bring, Jilly bring up a good point.
See, and that's the thing. It's like when it comes to this, you got to think about it. Yoga therapy and then yoga teachers, do they manipulate soft tissue?
Yes.
Then under the strictest definition of the law, they have to get a massage license. That's the way I understand it as written in Texas law, but it is not enforced. And let's bring it just a bit further to drive all massage therapists absolutely crazy. Massage therapists will talk about a license to touch. The law says if it manipulates soft tissue, you need a massage license. So here's the real one that I love to bring up, and it's cuddle therapy. Cuddle therapy manipulates soft tissue. It has no regulation whatsoever. You can make as much per hour cuddling with people as you can doing massage. Cuddle therapy manipulates soft tissue.
I know a cuddle therapist is probably making more than me right now.
But here's the thing. No license needed.
Hey, man, if you're hopping in, feel free to leave your comments and opinions because, again, I don't think my word is law. If you guys have anything to contribute to the conversation, then please feel free to drop a comment. I like to hear multiple people's perspectives.
The way it is written in Texas, the way I understand it, when I look at it, I have a very hard time understanding how massage therapists don't just lose their minds over this. But the thing is, fundamentally, what seems to happen is there's a culturally sanctioned norm of what massage is. That's what's enforced. So the thing is, in some states, there's an Asian bodywork exclusion. So in some states, if you do Asian styles of massage, you don't need a license. And it gets into this weird, tricky thing where it's like, listen, do you need a license or don't you need a license? Is like, are we protecting what the person does in a session, manipulating soft tissue, or are we protecting the name massage? So if you don't call it massage, you just call it therapy. It's muscle therapy. Do you need a license? We're not
protecting anything. Like we'll throw up these questions, but let's be real. They're not protecting anything. It depends on who you ask and who wants to limit stuff. Like, and then the same thing about the stretch therapy. I'll see a therapist say like, oh, well, if you're doing stretching is a modality. Let's just look at stretching in itself. Stretching is a modality.
In some
states, like, for example,
massage licensure, in some states, not all, I think in some states, they actually exclude stretching from massage licensure. As a massage therapist, you can't stretch people.
That's stupid. That's stupid. That's stupid. And then again, it just goes back to what they say, right? Because it's legal in the laws. But when you really look at it objectively, what are the laws protecting you against? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well,
For example, like when I
there's
brought
a
up,
difference between law. There's a complete difference between what's written in the law and how it's interpreted and how it's enforced. If a law is not enforced, it doesn't matter, right? And interpretation is something we can argue about.
yeah, because I mean, again, and I can argue both sides because I remember times I would bring up, for example, right, therapists will shy away from working on someone in the first trimester, right? And we all know it's a myth, right? You know, oh well, they could well, okay, they could have a miscarriage, but that's in any stage of pregnancy, right? So obviously it's a liability thing, which is totally understandable, right? We live in a sue happy country, but right, you have students who work on their pregnant classmates. I've seen plenty of pregnant young like 18, 19-year-olds in my massage school, and they had their classmates working on them. There was like 2 pregnant girls in my class, I think. So if something were to happen to them, could they go back and say, oh, well, so-and-so worked on me and that caused me to miscarry?
So I'll drop a trick question for people sometimes, and I'll come in and say, "Can you do massage without a license?" And everybody says, "No, absolutely not. You can't do massage without a license." And I'm like, "Yeah, you can. You can absolutely do massage without a license. You just don't charge for it."
Exactly.
And it's like, as soon as money gets involved, do you see how both camps come in? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So Brenda had a question for you, looks like.
Okay, so Brenda, here is how things actually work out, and this is why, and I want to say this very directly. I don't want a lot of hate mail about this. If you want to discuss it, debate it, do interviews with me, that's fine. I am completely against massage regulation. I'm completely against massage licensure because I feel like I'm being charged for something that's not really protecting the public. I don't feel particularly protected by it. And at the same time, here's the thing. Before you get all up in arms about it, just listen to me as an insider. 15 years in the industry. I have a license as a massage therapist in Texas. I have another license as a massage therapy instructor in Texas. I have another license as a continuing education provider in Texas alone. When I go to another state, all the rules change, and it's likely that I have to get another license. So I can't even travel across an imaginary line into Louisiana, across the Sabine River, and teach somebody because I'd have to get another license in that state. Then there's also a voluntary certification with the National Certification Board. If a state accepts national certification credits, I can go into another state and teach, and the students in my class can get credit. But if I go to Tennessee that accepts national certification credit, I can give students in my class credit. I cannot legally, my understanding is while I am in that state, I cannot give students a session. I can teach them, I can work on them in class. I cannot give them a session because I have to get a license as a massage therapist in Tennessee to be able to work within Tennessee's borders, which means that there's a complete impediment to me going and teaching and training people in Reboot.
And then again, it was some other things I wanted to bring up. Oh yeah, so we pretty much say like, oh, you know, if it's licensed, then you know, again, that means the quality of the massage is good. And the thing is, I've been to a couple. I don't know. I've been to 2 Asian places before. One on my own, one with a friend, but I couldn't stay long because I didn't really schedule it too good because I wanted to make sure I got to work on time. But anyway, the first one I went to, yeah, I didn't really enjoy it, and it's funny looking back then until now how I didn't speak up because the foot massage was great. The foot massage is on point. But then when he started massaging me, like going down my back, it was pretty much just like straight on my spine. And then like, you know, back then I thought that like, oh, it's because my back hurts. And it's like, no, because he was on my spine. So it's like, even though like, yeah, I would say against licensure, it's like, is it even a matter of licensure, or is it just the fact that, again, it just, I guess, goes back to their whatever training that they had?
Well, here's
Because,
the thing. When it comes to law, okay, it's legally mandated that we have speed limit laws. So if you're driving 70 in a 60-mile-an-hour zone, you can be pulled over, given a ticket, all the stuff that comes with that. We know that we don't catch everybody who speeds. Then we can go further and talk about, red light cameras and speed cameras and, catching you speeding from a helicopter and, all the other stuff that goes on. We can have arguments about that, but we generally know that it's enforced. The challenge is, in a city like Houston, here is what I'm told happens. In parts of Houston, an Asian massage place will open up, and what they will do is, one person does in fact have an establishment license, and they do have a licensed massage therapist on staff, and they will hire all of their friends and cousins who do not have massage licenses. They will all be working in the facility doing massage, and if an inspector shows up, there's one massage therapist and 6 people who are cleaning.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the thing is, how do you enforce it? And that's where the real weak link is. Most therapists, their answer to that is, we need to pay more in fees so that they police us more.
Okay. All right, so Jared says what licensing should be is to separate the professional from the unprofessional. I mean, define professional. That's a word people tend to throw around a lot. What's professional?
Professionals get paid.
Again, and I did not say just certification, right? No, but seriously though, I guess it'd just be right. Just make sure people have a certification. Because here's the thing, right? I can argue both sides. The thing that licensing is good, especially because I'm in Houston, the good thing about having a license is that it drastically reduces competition looking for a job. There are a ton of people in Houston. So, it's not that hard to get a job at a franchise. It's really not. I think anybody who's on here works at a franchise, it's not that hard to get a job. And then in Houston, they're pretty much all over. I know in some other areas, like I actually met a therapist from this group. We actually gave each other a trade last year on Thanksgiving. She lives over in Bryan, and I think she said there's only like an Elements and a Massage Envy. So of course it depends on where you live. But if you live in Houston, they're all over. You can find a job at a franchise.
Just to get an idea, because Brenda was asking about education, and I know that from the inside. Brenda, part of the reason I started the subscription service is therapists complain that continuing education is expensive. And massage therapists complain that, it's like they have to travel for classes. So if I try to travel to Tennessee, I have to get a hotel room. I have to fly to that place, and I have to take off time from my practice, in addition to having to advertise the class and hope that it fills.
Mm-hmm.
So I set up online education to try to make it cheap, affordable. You can get it when you can get it. But the thing is, therapists don't understand that I have to charge more for my classes to compensate for the fees and the taxes and the license and the travel and all that other stuff. If you get rid of the laws, it's cheaper for me to go across a state line and teach people for less money. I don't in other words, if Sterling, not you, Sterling, that's not a good example, but I don't know where you live, Brenda. No, you're in Dallas. So if somebody was out of state, if somebody in Tennessee or Georgia, somebody in Georgia wanted me to come out, they could call me, say, hey, I've got 20 students, I want you to come out and teach. I could go, okay, I'll book a flight, I'll see you in a month. I can't do that because the first thing I have to do is spend man hours doing research on Georgia's law to find out if I can even offer continuing education in Georgia.
And then also when it comes back to regulation too, since it's like, regulation certifications, right? You can't, none of that really quantifies into anything, right? So for example, let's say you work at, franchise or whatever, right? And you have all these certifications, right? Just because you have said certification doesn't necessarily mean the quality of your work is better than someone else that doesn't have a certification. That's why it's like, I know that, I'm getting paid what I'm getting paid. and this is not to complain or be a vent because corporate deems that I'm worth it. I can't go and say, hey, my boss, I'm certified in this, this, and that. I'm doing this, this, and this. I'm certified in myofascial release. I've taken class at the Rolfing Institute. So being that I have 1,000 hours of this, then you should pay me more. Because they would just look at you like, you're supposed to take continuing education class. You're supposed to just do your job and provide a great service.
Yeah.
And then again, too, and that's why I was saying that for me, like with YouTube, since it's so unbelievable to people that you can learn stuff to a video, that's a way for me to still shortcut education, but I'm still providing quality service. Like, for example, I learned how to work the psoas by watching a video, pretty much, and it's just a different way of me learning. So what did I do? Like I mentioned in another video we did, I saw a guy palpate it on himself. I palpated it on myself, and then accordingly, I did it on somebody else, and I communicated with them. I actually worked the psoas on somebody today. He's a cyclist. You know what I mean? It's really not that hard. Granted, I know people learn differently, but it's really not that hard to pick up something from a video. It's really not. Especially in 2017, it's really not.
Generally, my stance on it is the public wants what the public wants, and somebody's going to sell it to them. I don't see that there's any way that massage licensure is really going to be enforced in a way that massage therapists want, unless there is exceedingly just more control, which allows the state to come in and have more control over what we do, raise fees. People talk about issues concerning prostitution and human trafficking, and I'm like, well, there are already laws against that. Enforce them.
Benjamin, what do you mean by ego?
Well, the problem with organizing massage therapists, organizing massage therapists is like herding cats.
Yeah. Can you elaborate on that for us, Benjamin, please? Oh, he's probably typing right now, so I'll just wait a second.
So yoga teachers, and this is the argument I bring up for, most people think we have licensure to protect the public. I think primarily we have licensure to protect massage therapists. And what massage therapists want protection from is competition. Because now if you don't have a license,
exactly, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, we have to go through all this debt. We have to go to school. We have to do this. We have to do that. And if you come in without a license, you can't do that. We should report him. I have people regularly tell me that I should find people who are practicing Thai massage without a license and report them. And I'm like, no, I'm busy. I don't have time. Like, I know of lots of unlicensed practitioners. I've had people in classes tell me point blank, yoga teachers, that they would never, ever allow the state to tell them to stop practicing what they do. They will never go to massage school.
So I don't blame him. I wish I could have went that route. I don't blame him because I'm in debt from going to a Steiner school. So I don't. Well, I really don't blame him.
Massage therapist Brenda brings up a good point. Canadian massage therapists lose their mind because in Canada, the massage therapy curriculum is much more integrated with their healthcare system. In some provinces in Canada, you have to have 2,000 to 2,500 hours of training, 5 times what you can have in the U.S. On a forum, I talked to some Canadian therapists, and the guy said, can you do corrective exercise as a massage therapist? He was asking American therapists. And as a Texas-based massage therapist, I said, it doesn't matter. I'm a yoga teacher. And the Canadians lost their mind and said, no, you cannot do corrective exercise. And I went and dug through the law for Texas, and under the definition of massage therapy is Swedish gymnastics. And Swedish gymnastics includes active and passive exercise. And at that point, they all started cursing and threw up their hands. And I'm like, listen, you make the laws, you follow it. Because I'm doing exactly what it says. I know mostly what the law says. I've read it. It's in my state. But the thing is, I don't know what it's like in Mississippi. I don't know what it's like in Illinois. I don't know what it's like in California, because all the laws change whenever I try to take my physical form into another area to teach.
Yeah, and you actually bring up a good point. What the biggest thing that MT's going like, oh, well, you can't suggest this because that's not in your scope of practice. It says who? So this is typically how a session will flow. A lot of the times, this is typically when my sessions will be like, I'll ask them, do you sleep on your side, yada, 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 and I'll say, hey, your hips are off. Then I'll look at their feet, I say, hey, because your hips are off, it's throwing off your feet. And then they'll ask me, they're like, what do you think I should do? And I'll make a suggestion, but I make sure to say, like, my word isn't law. So, for example, a guy, he had said, like, should I stop lifting weights or whatever? Because I was showing him, like, how his hips were off and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm not saying don't ever lift weights again, but I'm saying, like, you might want to work on your posture more, because I'm like, look, man, if your shoulders are rounded and you keep benching, you're kind of just making your shoulders just hurt worse. Now, there was one time I did say to a guy, like, okay, I think I was kind of maybe overstepping. I was like, I'd suggest you, what did I say? I was like, I suggest you take it easy on the running. But I see, like, he said he was, like, trying to, like, be active. I think he had to get his, like, triglycerides down. Hey, man, look, and I explained it to him properly, like, you see your off, your feet are off, look at where your knees are. And he actually said he did have a bad knee. So that's how, so again, for most MTs, they'd be like, oh, you're out of your scope of practice. Yeah, I guess, whatever. But my thing is that just because I'm out of my scope of practice doesn't mean I can give some practical advice.
Yeah, as a massage therapist, what I really encourage you to do is get a copy of your state law and just read a segment every day. Just go through it and try to understand what it says. Now, it's still open to interpretation, but the thing is, I believe that based on what I read in Texas law, there's nothing that restricts active and passive exercise, okay? Based on what I read. Now, I'm also a yoga teacher, and people argue about the connection between those two things, because basically, as I'm getting a license as a massage therapist, I'm sort of signing a contract about what my scope of practice is.
Yeah, man. See, and that's the thing with, and again, when it goes to licensure and then scope of practice, because what the good and the bad thing about this industry is, right, you can make it whatever you do, right? So you can combine, right, yoga, you can combine massage.
When I talk about these things, you have to understand, like, people will get angry, but you have to look at my perspective as a 15-year veteran in the industry. And we'll take it further. I got 3 licenses in Texas. Some school owners in Arkansas contact me. They want me to come teach in Arkansas. And I say, hey, what are the laws? And they said, well, you have to file to get like an instructor's license or a teacher's license. Okay, so I file the paperwork and pay the fee and get that. Then I have to take my curriculum, submit my curriculum to their state board to be able to get approved by their state board. Now, if somebody from Arkansas comes into Texas, they can get credit for my class because it's nationally certified. But if I teach within the borders of Arkansas, their board has to approve it, adding another fee. So here's the thing. I get my course approved. I go teach several times in their school, and then I say, hey, when do you guys want to have me back? And it's like, no, we don't want to have you back. I'm like, what? 2 weeks later, they roll out their Thai massage curriculum because they've taken my class and cut it up, and now they're doing Thai massage and teaching. They've never had a single session with me. And what they did, completely legal. The person who did that is a former board president in Arkansas. They know what the law is, and the reason that they have passed those laws is to restrict competition. They don't want me coming into their state and sucking up the educational dollars.
And that's exactly what it is, limiting competition, because, again, it just goes back to even what I said, right? Thai massage, and that person who said, like, because for me to call it Thai massage, I'm spoiling it for the actual Thai practitioners. But it's like there's so many people in the world. It's like me calling what I do Thai massage, which is literally just me critically thinking of just how do I use my feet, legs, etc., isn't it spoiling for the traditional Thai people? Because, right, there's plenty of people lined up at the Thai places who offer, well, actually, no, some of the Thai places are pretty pricey. They're not just cheap, but you understand what I'm saying, right? They're not losing out people to me because I'm calling what I do Thai massage,
Yeah.
even though I've never formally had a class or had formal training on it.
Yeah. So when I go teach a class, this happened several years ago. I went to Dallas, and these students had all signed up for my class. And as I'm in the class, I realized, oh, I think a couple of these students, I think they're yoga teachers. I don't think they're licensed massage therapists. Now, legally, I can teach what I do to anybody. But for them to be able to perform sessions, they're supposed to have a license, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there were 8 students in class, 5 massage therapists, and 3 yoga teachers. The massage therapists found out that the yoga teachers are studying, and they all started to argue with each other in class and literally started a yelling match about the fact that these yoga teachers cannot do Thai massage. And I stood in the middle and was basically like, you can go fuck yourself. Because they can do yoga therapy. They can give yoga assists. They can give yoga adjustments. And they're like, no, they can't. And I'm like, you don't understand the law, and you don't understand that what is on the law is not enforced. And it's legal for me to teach whoever the hell I want. When I put out a YouTube video for free, who can learn from that? A guy in Tajikistan. A guy in Azerbaijan can study with me via YouTube. I don't know what the laws in Kazakhstan are. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and the thing is, when it comes to this, like massage therapists will get angry and say, you're fueling the problem. And I'm like, listen, if I don't teach these people, they will go study with someone else. They will.
Mm-hmm. And my thing is that I don't get how massage therapists get caught up in that. Just because we had school and have formal training, that somehow we have like the how can I say this? It's basically trying to make it sound like it's exclusive. Like, right, we're the experts on touch, right? Just because you had formal training in massage. Because when I think about, right, when massage was first started, or whatever, however it dates back to, I don't remember all the specific dates, right? No one had a specific plan. They were just figuring shit out, right? Massage and touch, right? Touch has been around since, right, the dawn of man, right? So how is it that when we go to a school to learn how to touch a certain way, us as therapists, and I used to kind of think like that too, right? Like, oh, they're not licensed, so it's not legitimate, right? Because you could give your friend or family member a good foot massage, right? I don't think you need to go to massage. I mean, if you have big hands, you can really get in there on the feet. You could probably give a good foot massage without going to massage school, right? But then if they pay you for it, it becomes illegal. And the laws, I don't know, the more I think about it, I realize the laws really aren't there for, like, the protection. It's to really limit competition and have control.
Therapists do take umbrage, and they often get angry about it. When I talk about regulation, I think of regulation as like politics and religion. It's 2 things you don't want to discuss in a bar. It doesn't have a lot of like scientific underpinning to it. The other portion is you have to understand that I follow the laws as I understand them. I'm not breaking laws. Like, I'm paying the fees, but I don't see that there's any advantage for me as a business person for paying that money. I'm not getting anything of value out of what I'm doing. Massage is table, cream, glide, and nudity. Culturally. I work on a mat. My clients are clothed. I have a suspension system. I'm doing abdominal work, and the sessions are 3 hours long. Massage therapists get session and freak out and go, this is not massage. And I'm like, yes. So now that we've determined that Reboot is in fact not massage, do you need a license to do it? And everybody goes, oh. I never thought about that. And the thing is, but I feel still caught because, it's like it can create a real problem from a marketing standpoint where it's like the work I'm teaching, who is it for? I'm trying desperately to put out information, and I'm desperately trying to put out more content to be able to help people, including allowing the public to work on themselves. But the thing is, I keep hitting these impediments because most massage therapists are still selling shoes, and I'm trying to sell Nike. Most massage therapists are still selling massage, and I'm trying to sell a reboot. It's a 3-hour session.
And another thing I wanted to touch on is that, again, it really comes down to competition, because I think, and what's probably, I don't know, because I don't know, I didn't see those people's faces. It's like somehow I think they get angry because of the fact that, right, they had to go through all that time and money. So since someone can go out and do massage and not have to pay for all these school fees, I wish I had to keep up, Benjamin. Like, so let's say, right, because for me, I think I could teach somebody, if they're coachable, I could teach them how to give a good massage. Let's say if I still even enjoyed working on a table. But anyway, based on what I know and what I've learned. So for some people to think like, oh, someone's doing massage and they didn't even go to massage school and they're charging for it, it's like, what the hell? Like, I went to school, I spent all these hours, blah, 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 blah. I'm not making the money I want to make. And then, their prices are so low, so they're undercutting the competition and it's not as good. So, says who?
To give you a further example of the stuff that I've seen, and this is the thing, again, as like a 15-year veteran in the industry, I've gone all over the map. There was an event that I fell into that somebody was doing some Thai massage with the acro yoga community. Now, acro yoga is a trademarked brand by a gentleman named Jason Niemer. I really respect Jason, and I really respect his trademark, so I don't call what I teach acro yoga because I'm not certified in acro yoga by him, okay? I'll call it therapeutic flight. But there's a large community in Austin who loves acro yoga, and they often blend a little bit of Thai massage into their acro yoga. I look at acro yoga as manipulation of soft tissue, especially the therapeutic component. So I started working with people in Austin, and these kids would come in and just freak out because I would show up and teach them at an event I now call Thai Massage Jam, which I trademarked, okay? I show up and teach people every week in Austin for 5 hours. I work on people, educate, answer people's questions, like give and receive body work. Publicly, everybody's clothed, on mats, at a studio. I teach and share, and here's what happened. The acro yoga community loved it. They kept coming out. Slowly, massage therapists started coming to the event, and they got mad. They said, you're teaching people who don't have a license. And I said, they're not charging for massage. They're working on their friends and family and building community. Right?
Hey, I just want to address this comment. Laura, okay, I'm not devaluing anything I learned in massage school. I mean, that set me up for the basics, right? That set me up for the basics. But then, of course, I've moved on to something new. But again, right, all it was is the basics. And then after that, I just went out and learned from myself. Luckily, I have YouTube. I mean, maybe that's not the popular opinion about learning from videos, but I mean, YouTube ultimately helped me get more flexible, right? Because I was having aches and pains from massage. My body mechanics were good, but I realized it was positioning, right? This shoulder was rolled forward, and I finally realized ways I could correct that myself. And then I kind of see those imbalances on clients, which makes my quality of work better. And on top of that, I'm not working as hard. Because, for example, 2 years ago coming out, when someone says, oh, I got a nut or a trigger point in my neck, it's like, can you spend like an hour on my back? Now I tell them, like, look, you don't have a knot. Your shoulder's just raised up so high. I literally just put their shoulder down, nothing advanced. I literally just moved their shoulder down. And they're like, oh, I feel it releasing. I'm like, yeah, because your shoulder was up. So you just limited your range of motion. You don't have a knot in your neck. And I was like, all right, I'm going to turn you over. I'm going to turn you over, and I'm going to work on your pecs some more. You know what I mean? Oh, duh, Benjamin. I know that. Like, because of YouTube, I can learn how to work on the psoas and the diaphragm and other stuff like that without having to take a class, right? And who's the dummy? Myself. I'm the dummy for it, and then I apply that to other people.
Yeah, running the entrepreneurs group for massage therapists, here's what I see. Massage therapists, if you're listening, and you get angry at this, you're just going to have to be angry, okay? You guys are lazy, and you whine. I'm tired of it. So here's the thing. I offer a CE class That CE class is $400 for 3 days. The therapist complained it's expensive. So I go, okay, if you're in Austin, Thai Massage Jam is $5. Happens every week. And they're like, "Aw, but it's not really a class." And I'm like, okay, so there's a subscription service for $7 where you can access 50 hours of pre-recorded video content. And they're like, "Aw." It's like, choose. You got some high price stuff, some nearly free stuff, some low price stuff. Just get out and learn. The thing is, the therapists in Austin, in my experience, they're not really getting up and under the Thai Massage Jam because they don't understand what it is. Because massage, for the most part, doesn't have any community. It's a business. What I was fostering was community development through touch and through massage and body work, where I was teaching people, like, they could bring their friends and family, their kids. I can show people's kids how to walk on them. You're building community, right? I'm giving away education for $5, but when you give it away for $5, the massage therapists assume it's not worth anything.
Okay, let me address another one. There's limits to online learning. Yes, you're just stating the obvious. There's limits to online learning. Yes, I know. I never said you can just learn the whole world online. I'm saying learning certain techniques. So, for example, learning the psoas online isn't any different than learning a neck stretch online. Yeah, all right, not too much wrong with learning it. Let's see.
So, Jan, what question do you have about building community?
Yeah, and Laura, I agree with you. Again, and I'm not saying that I'll never take like a CEU class in person ever because I have YouTube. I'm just saying certain things, not everything, certain things you can learn online. So, for example, I don't need to take a class to learn how to work on the psoas because I was able to learn it from looking online. That's basically it.
But here's the thing. It gets to a weird spot. Now, look at it from my angle. I'm a 15-year veteran. I have this event I've been running for 5 years for nothing, by the way. I don't make any money off of it. All of the money we take in goes back to the event. Because when we charge people $5, it's for rental on the space. But here's the thing. The state could potentially come in, look at what we're doing, and according to the law, when they read it, go, no, you're charging for massage. You might be charging $5, but you're charging for massage. We're going to shut this down. You're operating a spa without a license. And I'm like, no, that's not what we're doing at all. But do you see that there's no legal distinction? There's no legal protection for what I'm doing because I'm breaking the rules. Not the law, but I'm breaking the rules.
Yeah, Michael, I don't know if you were on when me and Robert had the talk. Yeah. God, it's hard to convey to people, I guess, even over video, too, because it's like the way I learned psoas, like my hands-on was doing it myself. Like, you know what I mean? I guess that's hard to say. Like, for example, I watched a video of Art Riggs working on the soleus, and I've yet to actually experience that myself, but I've done that on other people. But as far as like the psoas, I did it on myself to kind of see how it felt. And I've had it done on me once in school. But kind of having that feeling on myself, I was basically the dummy in that situation. And Michael, again, when me and Robert had this discussion about online education, right? We don't have enough. Like, there's not a bunch of online education to kind of like test from. So again, right? It's not saying like everything can be learned online. I just feel like online can just enhance what we're doing. So one of the things I brought up was Yeah, and then see, Michael, one of the things I was bringing up too is like, again, it was just the ideas I was throwing up in the air. Let's say someone was doing like a C class taught over Facebook Live, or not even just Facebook Live. Let's say a Zoom call. Okay, all right, heard that one already. All right, cool. All right, I'm just gonna repeat it myself, but yeah, anyway.
So, Laura, it's not something that's happened. I'm saying that depending on how they interpret and enforce law, they could potentially do that. And if I draw the attention of regulators who just don't like what I'm doing for some reason, some bad blood, they can come in and find a reason. They can scan the law and figure out, he didn't have a piece of paper from somebody from 5 years ago. I think we should fine him. And you say, oh, that could not happen. And it's like, sure, police don't pull over black people in America, right? For no reason. Now, that's a rough comparison. People are probably going to get angry about that, but that's the thing. It's like I'm butting up against regulation in all these different ways just because I'm trying to teach. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, but we know there's no enforcement. Yeah, exactly.
But here's the other thing. When we talk about, Brenda was asking about education. Here's something that there's not a lot of information about this floating around in the industry. And it's one of the things that's gotten under my skin over time, because here's the thing. I took a class with a Thai massage teacher who has done most of his training in Thailand. He has never been to massage school. He has no massage license, but he is nationally certified to offer credit to massage therapists. So he can come into Texas with no massage license, no instructor's license, no continuing education provider's license in Texas, but because he's nationally certified, he can offer credit. And you know how he gets nationally certified? Because the National Certification Board wants their money. And they say, oh, well, he's got prior experience, just give him his certification, take his money. No license.
I want to address Jan's comment, and it's a common thing for people to say, like, okay, so you're saying dentists don't teach non-dentists to clean teeth. That's obvious, right? And here's the thing, right? Massage and cleaning somebody's teeth is two totally different things. So here's that's a common thing that MTs will say, right? Oh, well, would you go to a doctor without a license? And the obvious thing is no. If someone was going to do surgery for me, if I had a bullet wound, obviously I would not go to someone who says they're a doctor and does surgery without a license. Is massage comparable to surgery? No. Is massage comparable to having your dentist clean your teeth with anesthesia? No. I think we can objectively agree with that. Can we objectively agree with that? Right? See, we aren't doctors. Exactly.
So when you talk about nationally certified,
really
Laura, when you talk about nationally certified, that instructor he's able to give massage therapists credit in Texas without a massage license, without an instructor's license, and without a provider's license, all three of which I have to have in this state. He can do that because he's nationally certified. He's never been to massage school. He told me point blank that he would never get a massage license, and he encourages all practitioners to avoid licensure. It's energy work. It's Thai energy work.
My whole thing is my whole point is just me making this and just talking in general is that don't rely on the massage bureaucracy to tell you that you can't do this, because I see that confuses a lot of people, because people will say like, all right, I want to do structural integration, or I'm thinking about doing Rolfing and stuff like that. And my thing is that, yeah, Rolfing, and structural integration, there's no specific, again, they're loaded terms. So structural integration, right? We went through a protocol in school where they showed us like, right, oh, you see their hips are off, their shoulders are off. We went through a sequence, whatever, right? And then we could kind of see, the results weren't drastic, but we could kind of see, like, after my teacher worked on somebody for a demo. But I actually have some footage, and I got to upload that and edit that, where I worked on, God, I should have tagged Christina in this, and I worked on another person where their hips were off. Probably the biggest factor was just me just working on their psoas, and then their hips were a little bit more leveled. I could easily say that's Sterling structural integration, right? You're not changing anybody's structure, right? For example, when you stretch somebody, are you changing their structure? You can't change somebody's structure, no matter what crazy technique that you're applying. But again, I haven't studied everything, so again, it's all up in the air. So that's why
when Laura talks about, it is Thai energy work, but it's also body work. In some states, it depends on the state, but I'm pretty sure in some states you can do body work, but you can't do massage without a license. Nobody knows what the law says. And even if the law says it, it's how it's interpreted and enforced. And typically that's very little. There was a facility here in Austin, okay? I am not lying to you, that was full out engaging in prostitution. And for years, people kept complaining and reporting this place, and they never shut it down until they had a plumbing problem in the facility. And the plumbers came out and found hundreds of condoms clogging the pipes. And they finally used that as evidence to shut the place down. Now, that's in Austin, in the capital city, where massage is regulated in Texas. That's what happens in the capital city in Texas. Imagine what goes on in El Paso.
Or even Houston, since Houston's so much bigger. What's another thing I want to bring up? So speaking of that, when they mentioned Chan who mentioned Dennis, okay, right, since we have this comparison of healthcare providers, for one, in my view, massage isn't healthcare, and right, before you jump on me about if it's healthcare or not, I'm just looking at it, even health-wise, because it takes more than a massage to be healthy, right? We all know this, right? Just looking at it objectively. And then also, two, let's just look at how it's structured, right? Do we have 40-hour work weeks? Do we have benefits? No. Right? For people who are saying it's supposed to be integrated more to healthcare, do you not realize that limits the barrier of entry? If we actually were to be like, doctors and nurses and stuff like that, that would really limit the barrier to entry. And on top of that, how many people get injured under medical care? So many people. Like, for example, I had a client, and I said, have you ever gone to a chiropractor? Because she's had a lot of issues with her neck. And she's like, I'm scared, like, if they might, like, do something or, because she said that she heard or, like, read that, like, someone died going to the chiropractor. And then at my old job, I had a client who said that his brother-in-law got paralyzed after getting adjusted by going to the chiropractor. I don't think people are dying and getting paralyzed from massages. And if not, then please correct me and direct me to the research that has that, if you can.
When it comes to regulation, again and again, what I keep asking is, are we protecting a word, which is massage, or are we protecting what people actually do? Because I say that cuddle therapy manipulates soft tissue according to the strictest interpretation of law.
Yeah, it's it's competition. That's basically what it is. And again, right, let me go back to, because I know people will easily take this out of context. I'm not saying massage school is bad. I'm not saying you shouldn't have laws. You already established that, we believe in certifications. You don't believe in, like, no laws. Yes, exactly. Oh my God, Laura. Oh my God, thank you. Care provider does not make me healthy. I received the most healthy advice certified people. Yeah, I mean, that's not to say that's every healthcare provider, right? That just addresses, like, the symptoms. I mean, just like not every massage therapist is created equal, not every doctor is created equal as well. Same thing with chiros, and the list goes on and on and on. All right, man. If you have anything else, I'm actually kind of done for the night because I actually am extremely tired.
No, I can't think of anything offhand. It's just a matter of interpretation of the law. And again, it's not just what the law says, it's how it's interpreted and enforced. I'll give you another quick example. I know this because I had contacts in Arkansas. Arkansas had the oldest standing independent massage board, I think, of any state. It was eventually shut down, and they moved under the Arkansas Department of State Health Services, like DSHS, I think. And when they went under that division, they reinterpreted the law and said that cupping was under the scope and practice of acupuncturists, and massage therapists could no longer cup people. They could no longer use cups to manipulate soft tissue.
That's interesting.
Now, that's a really hairy area, because if that statute stands in Arkansas, it can potentially stand in other states, but massage therapists banded together and complained to their state board. So now I believe they can, in fact, continue to use cupping. But when we're talking about manipulation of soft tissue, it gets to a weird spot where they're interpreting how you interact with soft tissue.
Okay, Jared says the laws are good if regulated correctly. I mean, we could say that about so many things. Honestly, we could go on and on
the only
about
thing
that.
I tell people is, listen, there are drug laws in the United States, and it's certainly slowed down the flow of illegal drugs. In addition, it's certainly not possible to get OxyContin anywhere in the United States in the middle of an opiate epidemic. It's working.
Oh yeah, Brenda says, okay, Brenda, can you clarify that? You said it's America's a balance of profit making and advocating for yourself as a consumer. Yeah, I do see that it's kind of like this. I don't think, Brenda, it's necessarily evidence-based versus energy-based. I think it's maybe more, I'm not even sure how to describe that too. I get along with the lines what you're saying, but again, there's no clear-cut evidence that any work is more effective because I'm not really into energy work myself. But again, who's to say that, acupressure isn't as effective as me stepping on somebody? There's no clear-cut evidence for me to say that. Just like, right, when we fall into, right, like, I'll say that too, like, oh, I don't do relaxation massage, blah, 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 right? Or people say, like, oh, I don't just do a fluff and buff. But whatever relaxation, fluff and buff, there's no clear evidence that, you really getting in there is more effective than like you just lightly stroking somebody, right? It's all interpretation. It's all perception.
I mean, if I right now...
Yeah, exactly, Laura. State-by-state nonsense.
If I decided to just change names and call what I do yoga therapy, I can hire people who are not licensed and train them myself. I can open up a facility without an establishment license for the state, and I could basically train therapists like twice as fast to do what I'm teaching, as long as we don't call it massage, right? But here's what would happen. Massage therapists would get so angry at me skirting around the law that way that they would report me to the state board, and basically they would be digging to find any reason to shut me down because they don't want competition.
Oh, I'd totally do that if I were you. That sounds like way easier than what you actually.
I got bills, man. I don't want them to come take my house. The thing is, if the state if the state takes away my license, can I still practice?
Oh yeah, true.
If I've been prosecuted, it gets into a really scary, hairy area, and I am licensed.
Yeah.
3 licenses in Texas alone. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like, but are we protecting the word massage, or are we protecting what people do?
Yeah, we're protecting what people do. So many of our points, logical points, it all goes back to competition. I mean, again, we already addressed the potential for harm, right? There's always potential for harm, whether you're licensed or not. So if you get anything out of this, right? We've gone on for a while. If you get anything out of this, I hope some of you realize it is just limiting competition. It honestly is. I hope some of you guys can see that. If you can't, then I really don't know what to tell you.
People have different opinions about law, so. Well, listen, you good for the night?
Yeah, man. I'm going to call it a night, man. Thanks for hopping on with me.
All right. Well, listen, you guys have a good night. And if you have more comments, if you watch this after the fact, feel free to comment down below. Sterling and I will continue to discuss it with you here.
Yes, Brenda, lost in bureaucracy. Oh, my God. Perfect. Yes, summed up perfectly.
You guys have a good night. Thanks again.
All right.